Hey everyone, the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell notifications down below if you haven't already. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom. I am Kevin, your host. Behind me as usual, the beautiful wagon wheel, and hopefully some new wisdom up here this morning. And it is very early a.m. Back to waking up at 3 apparently. I remember when I first started down this path, it was a lot of early mornings around this time, and given the recent events of what's taken place, I think I'm kind of back in that pocket again for a little while until I get back to the old disciplines I was using and really kind of hone in on, I suppose, my true intentions and sticking to them at this point in time. So I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle as I've learned the hard way, very hard way, in fact, that taking a step back or I guess in a way maybe deviating away from the things I was doing really has a profound effect. I don't want to sit here and say whether it's negative or positive, because from an emotional standpoint, I feel incredibly numb inside. There's sadness, there's no question about it, but at the same time, there's this just, it's referred to as the void. I suppose I was early on, I was really lacking the understanding of what that was, but I'm going to assume that this void that I am feeling inside is pretty synonymous with what others were mentioning, and it's an incredibly numb feeling. Last night I was tearing up a little bit when I was thinking about some things, and I still, don't get me wrong, I still feel emotion and I still process it, but I guess maybe the intensity of it isn't there, or I suppose maybe the other driving factor behind those emotions was I'm not giving it near the thought attention, because my thoughts have seemingly subsided a lot more due to meditations, due to the books I'm reading. This one here again, The Surrender Experiment, is great, by Michael Singer. Somebody else recommended The Untethered Soul, which is going to be next on my list. But and he talks about it in this book, oftentimes when you surrender to the flow of life, and a great example was this last weekend of me trying to dictate and manipulate life. And I think it was a hard but necessary lesson to learn that in order to get to wherever the hell it is I'm headed on this path, and others like me, that this true state of surrender, to allow life to unfold without our hands in it, so to speak. And that doesn't take away from being creative and things like that. Those things I find to be very necessary, but just allowing things to come in. And so that's going to bring me to my next point, that I'm sure people are going to kind of harp on me for the obvious reasons for this, but I'm going to share this with you anyway. I think one of the biggest fears I have about this is actually relinquishing total control, in the aspect of, if I let go of her completely, she's going to be gone from my mind. And for some strange reason, I think I'm still hanging on to her in that aspect of not being able to totally release it, still thinking that I have some control over the situation, which I clearly do not, and just absolutely surrendering to the fact that this is about me, this is about my life, this is about becoming whoever it is I'm supposed to become, and just allowing her journey to go her direction, my journey to go my direction. But for some strange reason, and it dawned on me last night when I was journaling, and I even wrote it down. I feel things, but not giving these things any power or premise is odd. I do still feel myself longing for her, crying at times, but I have to surrender to the flow of life, per this book, The Surrender Experiment. Life will take care of me once I surrender to it and let it flow. I often fear letting go completely, thinking I will never get her back. Total mind fuck in many ways. And I just kind of came to that conclusion last night after the events of this weekend and liking her profile on Bumble. But you know, I don't want to look at it like I did something wrong. I don't think I did. I reached out, liked her. She actually replied back, telling me to stop and whatnot, saying that there's no chance of us getting together. And, she didn't even have to do that, but she did. And that's the most I've heard from her in months. So was it a win? Was it a loss? I don't really see it as either. It was just a point in time. And regardless, it was good to, I guess, hear her voice via a message. But at the same time, after kind of sitting with this and getting back into what I'm supposed to be doing and stop smoking frickin' weed, because that is just destroying me from the inside. I can just tell it. I feel it. It can't be a part of my life anymore, and that's a stark reality. That is the old life of mine, and as much as I want to sit here and resist and think I can live that old life again, it's very clear at this point in time that cannot happen. I have to be absolutely and 100% different than the individual I was in the past. So, yeah, with that said, that was a really harsh reminder about things, is just relinquishing total control. And I've talked about surrender, and I've talked about feeling those moments of living in soul and bliss, but in the back of my head there still has been this not letting go factor. So that's going to be the next quest, is this total surrender to it and just allowing life to come at me and accepting the flow of it, kind of, hopping in a canoe and going down the river and barely having to paddle because the river's going to take me, and I'll kind of jog myself whatever direction I have to. But in the meantime, it's back to what was working, and I had some great disciplines. So there we are. That's this morning. Having a delicious cup of dark roast. That is the other thing. I might try quitting coffee too. We'll see. I had somebody randomly talking to me about that yesterday. So this whole acceptance of the flow of life, it's like I'm getting these subtle nudges from the universe in little ways to maybe entertain some new things. So here's kind of my take with this whole just surrendering to the flow of life. I think there's an aspect of great fun to it, great joy to it, because if you can sit there and lean into those moments of kind of like, wow, that was odd. Why would this person just be mentioning this to me at this moment in time about stopping coffee, when in fact I've been wanting to stop drinking coffee for a little while now? Or why would somebody talk about not smoking any more weed when I've wanted to quit smoking weed? Like, why would those things pop up? It's just seemingly way too random for them to be any sort of just absolute coincidence. Like, it's just universal nudges of people popping on my path again to keep me on this trajectory that I need to go on. And I kind of, I'm under the impression that that's sort of what all of us are probably struggling with at times, is totally leaning into this aspect of trying not to control our lives and trusting our inner guidance system, trusting God, trusting the spirits, trusting your angels, your guides, whatever you're leaning to as far as your guidance on this path. So that is a hard freaking thing to do. I would equate it to, they say how it's much harder to learn a new language later in life. I think we're learning a brand new language later in life, and probably why it is so difficult, because the old me is still very strong inside of me when it comes to resisting against this. I really didn't give it enough credit before, and that is a true challenge, just taming down that ego and that old inner voice, and coming at it from I suppose a realization of, well, in asking myself, like, did those old ways work? No. And I guess I really didn't, because I felt stuck in life for so damn long. So yeah, this is a hell of a process. I'm not gonna lie, not for the faint of heart, and it's impressive, all of you that have followed along with this. And I love the aspect where many of you had said that I give this real and raw outlook, like in real time, of this process that very few do. Or in fact, some of you had said that you've never come across anyone that has ever spoke about this like this. So again, I don't know how else to be. That real and rawness sometimes has gotten me in trouble because of my wicked tongue, and that the breakup with my partner was a great example of that, of something too that I need to tame. Because again, that wicked tongue of mine, as much as I didn't want to admit it at the time, was just me again being manipulative and thinking I can dictate life and probably control someone into staying with me or in my life, when the flow of life is telling them and myself something vastly different. So that's going to be a process for me to, in those moments when things do come at me, to shut that part of my brain down, take a deep breath, and just surrender to it and ride out the storm. Yesterday, which was odd that this has not happened, I got an email about a potential job offer as an accounting assistant from a place here where I live. And at first I was resistant. I don't want to go back to that. But then something else inside of me was like, wait a minute, why would this be popping on my path? Like, they actually made a direct phone call to me, which hasn't really ever been the case. So why would that be the case? And so I'm going to go sit in an interview on Friday and just hear it out. That the book I'm reading, that Surrender Experiment, talks about this all the time. And in fact, it's what led him to have the success that he did. Just everything kind of fell on the path. So I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning, sat out in front of the old wagon wheel here on my pillow and mat, and meditated for a good 20 to 25 minutes. And I suppose this is going to be the new me. And it sounds, the other part of it, it in a way sounds like my life is incredibly boring, but at the same time it's such a new thing that it's kind of exciting and fun at the same time. So here's where we are. And I, as I said, went, I guess, a little backwards with this last weekend, but at the same time there's so many lessons to be learned from it, and I'm just going to take the reins. And the other part is it jogged me back in time, and probably set me back a little bit as far as the sadness and the longing for her, kind of, I guess in a way starting over, but also in a way not really starting over. So just be careful with allowing your ego to take the wheel on this one. I guess is a good message for all of you guys out there, guys and gals. Don't do what's expedient in the moment. Take that deep breath, sit with it, and think about it for a second. If you got to walk away and clear your head, do that, and just try your best, and don't do what I did. Don't reach out. Don't. If their wishes are no contact, then respect their wishes. The time will come when the universe has them reach out to you, or maybe it won't. I don't know. I don't know how the hell this thing plays out. I just got a hard lesson on what probably not to do. So tough pill to swallow at times. But then again, this I haven't gotten the manual on how this journey goes down. I'm learning as I go with this, just like we all are. So it's a heck of a path to go on, to completely to completely surrender like how you used to do everything to this brand new idea of you don't your life can't be the same anymore. You've got to walk this path a much different way than you ever walked anything before. So stepping stones, baby steps. I am a newborn giraffe at this point that can't walk for shit. So here we are. Anyway, happy Tuesday to all of you. Hope you guys have a great day, and love you all.